Am I the a-hole for wanting to move away and not looking after my parents? I, 27 female, have two older siblings, 41 female and 39 male, who have taken advantage of my parents' kindness for years. My parents have tried to help set my siblings up because they were high school dropouts and didn't know what they wanted to do in life. They opened up restaurants and bailed them out of debt, only to get into bigger crap later on. My sister has finally grown up and has a good business now, but she spends too much. She even tried to borrow $50,000, but I knew she won't pay me back, so I said no. She then tried to make me feel bad by saying I was a horrible sister. My brother is still an idiot and has racked up $500,000 of debt, and sends his letters to my parents' house thinking they'd bail him out again. Sadly, my parents are in no condition to work anymore due to injuries. I didn't dare ask for financial help from my parents because they were severely stressed for my siblings. So I went on benefits when I went to university. Every time I saved up a few thousand, a debt collector would come knocking because my brother was severely late on payments. So every time the debt collectors came, I paid what I had saved over and over again while I was studying because I felt sorry for my parents. When I graduated, I had to move for work and came up with an agreement with my parents where I paid in advance for their mortgage and they pay me back in a lump sum, almost $30,000, when I came back. 18 months later, I came back and they did not keep their end of the agreement. They tried to justify their actions by saying that they were leaving their life insurance and house, with a large mortgage, to me when they die. I was depressed for a long time because that money was to help with living expenses when I go back to study. Fast forward now, my parents told me they will be canceling their life insurance as they can no longer afford it. I said that's fine, but then asked them, which one of your 3 kids has cost you the most grief financially? To which my mom answered, your brother. So I said to get him to look after you, and that it's their fault for investing in the wrong child. Now they are mad at me, saying that it was a waste raising me because I'm not a dutiful daughter. To which I retaliated by saying that they stole the money that was meant for studying from me. My mom tried to downplay this and said it's in the past and that I should let it go. I'm planning to move away, even to a different country, and to go low contact. Despite this, I'm even willing to send a small amount of money to them once in a while, which they probably won't even appreciate because they are not grand gestures like my sisters. So am I the a-hole? Edit 1. From the 30,000 incident, I stopped financially helping my family, which was about 7 years ago. As for the debt collector's part, it happened when I was a naive and very sheltered teenager. My brother pressured my mom to take some of the loans out in her name. I helped out because my parents are both depressed, and my mom wanted to end herself. Also because I was scared that it could escalate to us losing our home. Edit 2. I am financially and mentally okay. I just wanted to know if I am the a-hole for moving out and not wanting to look after my parents in their old age, which will be end of this year when I buy a house. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Oh gosh. First of all, stop paying for your brother's debt. That can get you into more trouble. And second, go no contact or low contact with your family because they are no good for you. Sorry, I forgot to mention, but I stopped about 7 years ago. And I will go low contact when I moved out end of this year when I buy a house. Your family doesn't seem to care a lot about you. Protect yourself and don't put yourself on fire to keep them warm. I know, I feel they only care if I give them very expensive stuff. I bought my mom an Arden handbag for her birthday. But she didn't even use it once, but will use the Louis Vuitton handbag my sister got her, even though it's fugly. I took back the Orton handbag and will be using it for myself because it actually looks sexy. Not the a-hole. Stop paying them money? Stop entirely. That's a horrible idea. They're using you and they will continue to use you just like your brother has. Sorry, I forgot to mention I stopped financially helping about 7 years ago. But you said you may continue to send them some money after you move. Don't do that. Please don't do that. After reading all these supportive comments, I've decided not to. If they are starving, I'll just get food delivered to them, I guess. Maybe. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not taking sister-in-law's kids on vacation with us? My husband's sister has 2 kids, 10 and 12. We don't see them often because they live a few states away and their father has primary custody. My sister-in-law has a habit of imposing on us. She'll call us while she's driving to our house and tell us she'll be staying a week or 2. So it wasn't a huge surprise when she called my husband a couple days ago to say she was sending the kids to our house for 3 weeks, once school lets out. Apparently, there's some drama at their dad's house, so he doesn't want them exposed to it. But she rents a room so the kids can't stay the night more than 1 to 2 nights a week. The only problem is that one of the weeks she plans on sending them to us will be on vacation at Universal. She said, great. They've never been. They'll have so much fun. My husband explained that isn't an invitation. He's letting her know she needs to choose different weeks. She asked why the kids can't just go with us, and we explained we're driving, so there's no room, and our Airbnb has just enough beds for our family. She offered to drive them down herself and have them sleep on a couch. We said that could work, and told her the cost of the tickets we bought were $380 each, so if she sends us the money, we would buy another 2. She asked why she would send us the money, and we explained these are her kids. She would need to pay for them to go. She said that was ridiculous. If we have the money for this trip, then we're obviously well off and can afford to pay for her kids too. We told her we saved for years for this trip. We have a strict budget and we cannot afford an extra $800. As it is, we'd have to figure out how to add more to our budget for extra food, which we didn't ask her to pay for. She called us selfish and said we'd get to explain to her kids why they didn't get to go to Universal and their cousins did. My husband hung up on her, and shortly after got a call from his brother saying pretty much the same. He said $800 won't break us, but their sister would never be able to save that much. He's not entirely wrong. We could put it on a credit card. But the whole reason it took so long to take this trip is because we are paying exclusively in cash. We just got out of credit card debt a couple years ago and don't want to go backwards for something that isn't an emergency. We've given both his siblings money before for things like rent and car repairs, but this is different. Are we the a-holes? Huge not the a-hole. She sounds so entitled. $800 is a lot of money to ask for on a whim. Seriously, that's my mortgage payment for the month. And his brother also needs to butt out of it unless he's going to pony up that change. Don't you love the way Opie's sister-in-law and brother-in-law seem to think that Opie and her husband have an extra $800 in their back pockets? But the concept of saving for what you want is completely foreign to them. Leeches. Sometimes the posts on this sub astound me. Not the a-hole. You aren't obligated to take your sister-in-law's children on your family vacation, and you certainly aren't obligated to pay for it. Would it have been nice if everything worked out that way? Sure. Sounds like those kids have it rough. Does it in any way mean you should pay $800 and overburden your family? Of course not. Sister-in-law needs a talking to about boundaries and what your family can and cannot take on. Blood ties aren't an excuse to take advantage of someone. Not the a-hole. Just refuse to watch those kids at all. It sucks their mom has no concept of notice, money, or how entitled she's being, but don't enable her at all. Flat out refuse. Call the police if she drops kids off after you refuse to watch them. If the kids are in an uncomfortable environment and we can keep them away from that for a few weeks, we're 100% happy to do that. But we just need them to come a little later. None of this is the kids' fault, so we don't want to punish them. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for leaving my friend and his 2 kids in another state? So my buddy's wife ran out on him and he was pretty distressed by it, saying he didn't know what to do. He wasn't sure how he was going to raise these kids by himself. I felt bad, so I told him I would move across the country to help him out and help raise the kids. My one stipulation was, if you start dating someone and move them in within the first month of me being there, I would leave the next day. He was buying a new house. I was just helping him raise his kids while he got on his feet, and then after a couple years, I was going to move out. Fast forward to us both moving in, and he's been talking to this girl on Tinder for about a month. The first day we move in, he brings her over. I had certain areas of the house I had made arrangements in, organized things the way I wanted, and when he introduced her to me, he said these are his areas, don't mess with anything here. As soon as I was out of earshot, she started telling him how she wanted to reorganize those areas. After about a week of her being there, I talked to him and asked, did you just decide to move her in here or does she have her own place to go to? And he said she was going back home that night. And she did. For one night. I was paying about half the cost of the house, but he kept pushing my stuff further and further into my room. Furniture that I had brought, different ornaments, until finally everything I owned was pretty much in this tiny room while his girlfriend brought all of her stuff over. I told him this isn't what I agreed on, and if she was going to be living here all the time, I was leaving because I don't feel like being a part of Full House. He told me I wasn't in a place financially to move out anyways, and I should just get with the program. Well, he was partially right. I didn't have the money to leave, but I did have the credit score to get a loan. When he and the girlfriend took the kids one weekend, I rented a U-Haul and moved all of my stuff out. By the time he came back, I was gone. He texted me saying how I screwed him and the kids over. How was he supposed to pay for everything without me there? I told him to figure it out with his girlfriend since she's the one that's helped him so much. Edit. The reason I told him if he moved someone in I would leave isn't because I thought he would. It's because my last roommate did the same thing and moved in their partner without telling me. I got a call while they were driving back from picking up the partner's things from a couple states over to ask if they could stay. It was something along the lines of, "Hey, we're on our way back from the States." I told my partner to come move in with us and we grabbed all their things. We're almost back. It's okay if they move in, right? And for those who worried about the kids, I made sure there were plenty of people around who could check up on them and keep them happy and healthy when I left. It was a couple months after his wife left him that he started talking to this girl. There was a situation where he was already leaving the job he was at. There was no reversing the situation, and he was moving back to his hometown to be closer to his parents. His wife was supposed to go with the kids first, but that wasn't happening obviously, so the kids stayed with his parents while he tied up loose ends. I told him I was leaving and he needed to get his stuff together, about a month before I actually left. I was going to tell him beforehand, but there were still a lot of things I had paid for that I wanted to take with me, and I knew they were things he and his girlfriend liked having around. I didn't want to deal with them ganging up on me and getting the police involved. From my last experience when the police are involved, if the person who is staying in the residence after you leave say that you're trying to steal something, it doesn't matter if your name is on the lease. It's now their home, and everything in it is theirs, unless you can prove in court that it's not. I had already lost out on a couple tens of thousands of dollars. I wasn't willing to lose that last little bit of what I had. He told me I wasn't in a place financially to move out anyways, and I should just get with the program. Not a day-haul for so many reasons, but this part just really seals the deal on him being a gaping a-hole. You moved states at great financial risk to help him, and he turned around and tried to financially abuse you for it. This exactly. Get with a program after violating literally your one rule? Get the hell out of here. Not a day-haul. I swear this sounds like Buddy's wife left him because he was straying. Mighty big coincidence that he moved. Found some random gal, got her all moved in before he could blink, and she took over the house. Good for you for moving out. As is pointed out in another comment, his friend went right to financial manipulation in order to bend Opie to their will. Decent chance that previous wife was in a similarly abusive situation but more vulnerable. Getting out of a horrible situation is hard. Getting out with children is harder. Priorities as a parent are not taken into account with the statement I know. Not day-haul. He wanted to have his cake and eat it. If you start dating someone and move them in within the first month of me being there, I would leave the next day. He moved a girlfriend in. You moved out. Sounds like the deal you made was crystal clear. And sounds like Opie knew he had a habit of straying. Why else make such an oddly specific ultimatum in advance? Usually, it's suggested that you wait 6 months before introducing a new person to your kids, much less move them in. Not day-haul, by the way. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for threatening my mom that I'll stop paying the house utilities if she won't respect my sleeping pattern? So I got hired on a remote job that pays 3 times more than my job before the lockdown. The problem, however, is my working hours are 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. Because of this, I became a nocturnal person, which was never really a problem to me because my brain is more active at night. My mom, however, didn't like it. She made a rule that all of us should eat together at breakfast every Sunday, which means I have to wake up at 7 a.m. on weekend. I can't because I normally sleep around 4 or 5 a.m., and I can't force my body to sleep early. Not to mention I'm still working from Friday night up to Saturday morning. I've been telling my mom not to disturb me on Sunday, but she's always like, "No, you sleep early on Saturday so you can join us." But I can't. And no, I'm not resorting to sleeping pills or whatever. So earlier, I got annoyed with her, which prompted me to threaten that I'll stop paying the house utilities if she won't respect my sleep schedule. Due to the pandemic, my parents' business went bad, so they're barely meeting the ends. So my financial assistance is a huge help for them. Mom got mad. Dad called me selfish and ungrateful for letting me live at their house rent-free. Funny, it's because it's not even free since I'm paying a lot for the utilities. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Tell her that you'll be happy to have breakfast together as a family when you wake up at noon. You can call it brunch, or you can call it a compromise, whatever she prefers. Not the a-hole. They can be adults or they don't get their life subsidized by you anymore. Not the a-hole. If you can, move out and let them sort out the mess you leave behind. To be honest, I could. I just can't because of the COVID situation in my country. Probably once I got my vaccine. Start saving the money and doing the research. And getting everything ready. Not the a-hole, but come up with a compromise, like a family lunch or dinner instead of breakfast. I always eat lunch and dinner with them since lunch is technically my breakfast and dinner is my lunch. So what is the difference between that meal and every other meal? Control.
Update 2. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my oldest daughter to use my home as her wedding venue because her mother and her family will be invited? Original post. I'm in a pretty bad situation right now. When my stepdaughter got married 2 years ago, she used our home as the wedding venue. We have a meadow in our backyard that is able to accommodate a large number of people, as well as an empty, clean barn that can be set up for dinner tables. My daughter was supposed to marry at another location last year, but because of the pandemic, the venue shut down permanently. She's now asked to use my home for the wedding, but I told her my issues with that. I had a restraining order against her mother, my ex, and a few members of her family after threats and harassment were directed toward my wife and myself. The restraining order expired mid last year, and we haven't heard from them since, but I stayed firm in my decision. This has upset my daughter greatly, and she screamed at me, which she's never done before. I offered to give her $15,000 for an alternative venue, but now she's adamant about it being at our home. I feel extremely uncomfortable giving my ex and her family access to my home because that's where the washrooms will be. My daughter has put this issue on Facebook, and now I have all of my extended family against me. This has also stirred up my ex and her family against me. And worse, my wife and stepdaughter are now being accused of trying to ruin my daughter's wedding, even though they haven't played any parts in it. I'm planning on giving in and letting my daughter use our home for the wedding later this year, but I'm going to tell my wife and stepdaughter not to be around for it, which I'm sure is going to create a bunch of other issues. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole. Go renew the restraining order if your ex and her family are harassing you and explain to your daughter that she can either have the wedding at your home without her mother and her side of the family, or she can accept the $15,000 and have it elsewhere. But for personal safety reasons, you will not let her mother into your home. Otherwise, rent porta potties. They have some super fancy ones for weddings. Trailers don't look or smell like porta potties, with a washroom. I won't be renewing the order because I don't have any real standing this time. I also don't want to renew it because I do want to attend my daughter's wedding without causing any issues. But the outdoor bathrooms are an excellent idea. I've texted the idea to my daughter. Not the a-hole. But how is it that you raised your, presumably, adult daughter in such a way that when you don't give her what she wants, she screams at you and goes after you on Facebook? And why do you now think the right thing to do is to give in to her antics by letting her have the wedding at your house after all? My own daughter just got married and I provided financial support. If she had screamed at me about anything related to the wedding, you can be sure that financial support would have been withdrawn. My daughter has never raised her voice at me, but I can only imagine that other family members are riling her up. She also posted something on Facebook that didn't explicitly blame me, but my own sister made it into a circus that involved my ex and her family. I feel badly that my daughter is under all this stress due to my ex and my issues. Not the a-hole. I'm constantly baffled by the massive levels of entitlement and self-centeredness people show. All your daughter cares about is that she gets her due, which is your home as the venue. She shows zero empathy or care about the fact that you actually had such a bad falling out with your ex-wife that you had to get a restraining order. You didn't make the biggest mistake of your life at all. Your concerns were very reasonable. Your daughter behaved like an absolute self-centered brat with no consideration for anyone else, including her parents. On top of that, she went nuclear by sharing it with the world and airing dirty laundry in public. You did nothing wrong here. All this did was reveal the true character of your kid. That's the sad part. The thing is, it would have come out sooner or later, so you're better off that it came out now instead of later. I was always very close to my daughter, and she's had to deal with a lot of issues because of my problems with my ex. But she's always remained sweet to me and has never asked anything from me. But in hindsight, I can see why she's finally reached her limit with dealing with my issues. I'm absolutely gutted that she's reached this point with me. I really should have just sucked it up for one night. But I know that things are just going to get much worse because my stepdaughter's husband works for my father. But my parents favor my daughter, so I know this is only going to get worse, and I'm feeling very fearful over what's to come. Mini update same day. I messaged my daughter about the outdoor trailer bathrooms, and she refused and said it was a disgusting idea. She then accused me of treating her worse than my stepdaughter, that I play favorites, and that I'm a terrible father. She no longer wants the wedding at our home and hung up. She is no longer picking up my calls. I got an angry call from my mother, who says she is hosting the wedding instead, and that I will not be welcome at the wedding. My father will be walking my daughter down the aisle instead of me. Thanks everyone for the advice. I appreciate it, but I feel like I've made the biggest mistake of my life. I'm completely heartbroken. Now for the full update. I've had many messages asking me for an update that I only noticed after logging back into this account. I have a fairly positive update. My daughter's wedding took place in October last year. After a few months of my daughter refusing to talk to me, my wife saw how I was being affected by the situation and said I should just let my daughter use our home without any restrictions, that we should lock up our valuables and hope for the best. I was extremely hesitant, but at my wife's insistence, I arranged a meeting at my mother's home and made the offer. I was immediately told that it was too late, that the new invitations had already been sent out, and that the wedding would be happening at my mother's property. But my daughter asked for the $15,000 I had originally offered for an alternative venue to be used to renovate my mother's home a little for the wedding. I just accepted that this was the best it was going to get and gave her the money. My daughter still didn't warm up to me after this and would only reply to texts occasionally. Then a month before the wedding, I was told to come to the wedding without my wife. My daughter said that, similar to how my wife and I felt, her mother and some members of her maternal family felt uncomfortable being around us due to the expired restraining order. She said she was willing to fight them to have her father at the wedding, but my wife, stepdaughter, and her husband were not invited. I was incredibly disappointed. I wanted to confront my daughter and potentially not go to the wedding at all if my wife wasn't invited. But my wife said that there's too much bad blood, and I should just attend the wedding quietly for my daughter's sake. I ended up attending the wedding alone and left once dinner was done. While I got to see my daughter get married, my heart feels heavy that it was such a conflict-filled situation. Even having me walk her down the aisle became such a touchy subject that she just ended up having her half-brother walk her down the aisle instead. When I went to congratulate my daughter before I left, she angrily told me that she should have just eloped because of me and my ex, and that it's disgusting that her own parents ruined every aspect of her wedding. She said she can't wait to build a life separate from everyone. I apologized and cried on my way home. A part of me is happy that my daughter is still somewhat talking to me, but I do regret putting her under so much stress. It's not her fault her parents can't get along. I'm just hopeful that we can slowly start repairing our relationship. I am sorry about the whole situation. You didn't do anything wrong, and your daughter sounds very selfish. From what I've read, you and your ex did not ruin her wedding. She was fixated on using your house, and after you said no, she decided to just blame every bad thing on you. I also think her not allowing your wife to attend was unreasonable. You didn't want your ex and her family at your house. They decided they didn't want your wife and family at your mother's house? I know you're hopeful about repairing the relationship, but it doesn't sound like she wants that. Be careful if she does reach out in the future, that she's not just doing it to use you for money or something similar. I really don't think it's about money, since my parents and her new husband are well off. She just thinks I treated her worse than my stepdaughter after the whole venue situation, and I hate that she feels that way, even after I've tried to explain my reasoning. And she's definitely been caught between me and her mother's issues. It's not her fault that her mother escalated things to the point of us needing to file restraining orders. It's just been a highly stressful situation, and I feel very badly that I played a part in making her wedding not a completely happy event. She does seem to be open to replying to my texts occasionally, so I'm hoping with time she'll warm up to me again. But my wife said that there's too much bad blood, and I should just attend the wedding quietly for my daughter's sake. That is very mature of your wife. She is an incredible person, but the really unfortunate part of this whole situation has been the fallout that my wife and stepdaughter have had to deal with. There are members of my family who think my wife played a part in not having our home made available for my daughter, even though I've repeatedly told them that she, in fact, pushed to let the wedding happen at our home. Even worse is that both my daughter and my stepdaughter's husband worked for my father. My son-in-law had to change companies because of how awkward the entire situation was, since my father was fully supporting my daughter. So my stepdaughter ended up moving 2 hours away, which has upset my wife greatly. I just keep thinking that maybe if we'd sucked it up for one day and let the wedding happen at our home in the first place, we wouldn't be in this terrible situation. I'm very confused about why your own parents and sister are on your daughter's and her mom's side in this situation. Is there information being left out? Regardless, I am sorry to hear about what you're going through. I hope things work out for the better with you and your daughter. My parents despise my ex as much as I do, if not more. They even contemplated getting a protection order against my ex at one point, but they compensate by favoring my daughter to the extreme. My sister is miserable and likes to gossip with my ex. My parents and I do not have a relationship with my sister. She wasn't invited to the wedding. My mother is of the mindset that my daughter should come first over everybody because her parents are divorced. I don't feel that's a healthy way to raise someone, but I can only control my actions. It's just dysfunctional family dynamics all around. Now let's hear from the daughter's post a month later. I hope you're really happy. Not only was my wedding miserable, but ever since you and mom divorced, my whole life has been. You want to talk about how horrible she is? Yeah, you're right. She is. But so are you. You always put me in a position where I felt that even saying the slightest positive thing about her would get me in trouble. My birthdays were horrible because you both couldn't grow up and behave. I hate my birthdays now because all I can remember is you screaming at each other. You never cared about me. You cared more about hurting her. I tried to be so understanding. I always told myself that my mom was worse. But no, you're horrible too. You made me feel like a second-class citizen at home. You showed my stepsister so much more love and care than you did me. Do you know how much it hurt seeing you accommodate her every wish at her wedding? Do you know how much it hurt when you basically laughed in my face when I asked for the same? You are not the polite martyr you made everyone believe you are. I'm done with you. I was done with you when you kept making remarks at my wedding. I was done with you when you basically screamed at me for not inviting your wife and her daughter. They don't feel like family. Neither do you now. Oh yeah, I'm expecting. That was a surprise. I was thinking of calling you, but after seeing your posts, I don't want to. My therapist says that you and my mother are the cause of my childhood trauma. And this year, I will cut out toxic people. If you care so much about the money, I'll mail the check to you. I'm done with you, with your wife, and your daughter that you love so much. Don't worry, I'm also done with your ex. Hope you're happy, and I hope Reddit karma is a good substitute for me. Edit. I'm gonna be honest here. His comments were the ones that hurt me the most, because he has always been like that. His stepdaughter could do no wrong, even though she was my biggest bully at home. She would directly taunt me, saying that my own father loved her more than me. She would do things like cry when I didn't lend her stuff and tell my father I had slapped her, or she would take my stuff and pretend it was hers. Also, her husband didn't get fired because of me. His performance was critically lacking. He was leaning back because he thought he had secured his future there. He made a lot of careless mistakes and would basically use company time as his own. His wife is another story. She was always the saint in front of him. She would never straight up tell me she hated me or anything. She would do little indirect jabs so she could always say she didn't mean it. I hated being there. I hated being at my mom's place too, because she cared more about her boyfriends. So I just spent most of my time with friends, or outside, or with my grandparents. My grandparents are honestly the only saving grace. Even they are so disappointed with my father, their own son. Last story. Am I the a-hole for reporting my boyfriend's mom for taking and wearing my graduation dress? I, 33 female, just finished my degree after 5 years of part-time school while working full-time. My boyfriend, Ben, 34 male, and I have been together for 3 years. His mom, Terry, can be a lot, but we've mostly gotten along. A couple of months ago, Terry offered to take me dress shopping for my graduation. I wasn't planning a big party or anything, but I wanted something nice to wear for the ceremony and a small dinner afterward. We found a dark green wrap dress at a boutique. It was $280, which was more than I'd normally spend, but she offered to cover half of it as a graduation gift. Since I was in a tiny apartment at the time with basically no closet space, she offered to store the dress for me in her guest room so it wouldn't get wrinkled or damaged. I appreciated it and didn't think twice about it. 2 days before graduation, I went over to pick it up. That's when she told me she had lent it to a friend's daughter for a banquet and said it was being cleaned. I was completely thrown. I hadn't even worn it yet. She just said she didn't think I'd mind and figured I had something else to wear. I didn't. I had bought that dress specifically for this day. I ended up running out the night before graduation and grabbing something that fit okay, but it wasn't the same. The day was still nice, but I was pretty upset. Afterward, I kept asking her when I'd be getting the dress back. She was vague and avoided the question. She wouldn't tell me the name of the cleaner or give a straight answer. She made it sound like I was overreacting. About a week later, I was sitting with Ben while he was scrolling through Instagram. One of Terry's friends had posted photos from her birthday dinner. I looked over and saw a group photo. Right in the middle was Terry, clearly wearing my graduation dress. I said, "Is that my dress?" And Ben just froze. It was obviously the same one. She never lent it to anyone. She wore it herself. When I confronted her, she admitted it and said she only wore it for a couple of hours and planned to return it. I said I didn't want it anymore and asked her to reimburse me. She said she already paid her half and called me immature. So I filed a small claims case. She took something that belonged to me, wore it, lied about it, and won't pay me back. Now her family, her sister and some of the cousins I'm close with, is saying I'm blowing things out of proportion and embarrassing her. Ben is asking me to drop it to keep the peace. But it wasn't just a dress to me. It marked something important. I picked it out for a once-in-a-lifetime moment, and she made it about herself. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I'd be hesitant to keep dating someone that was raised by a person with such a staggering lack of boundaries and accountability. Ben is asking me to drop it to keep the peace. Ben expects you to be a doormat. Can't wait for her to be wearing your wedding dress to your wedding, while Terry's son keeps whispering that it's not a big deal. You can get one at the thrift store. Not the a-hole. Tell the family that Terry offered to pay half as your grad gift. You did not offer to pay for half of a dress you were not going to get to wear. And definitely aren't paying full price for a now-used dress. The entitlement is ridiculous. You realize she knew when the dress was bought that she was going to wear it. She finagled it so you let her take it home. She made you pay half of her dress. I'm sure you love your boyfriend, but I'd have nothing else to do with his mother. Edit/mini update. I'm seeing a lot of people say things about my boyfriend, but in his defense, I think he just thought I was maybe going a step too far with filing a claim, not for being upset with his mom. He's been supportive the last bit or so since I filed. Ben called his mom half an hour ago and told her how many people are saying her actions were wrong and that I'm not being overdramatic, and she's dead set that she isn't in the wrong. He said he's done with her BS. He told her to give the dress back, and his mom says she doesn't want to deal with me now. And she paid half only when she thought I was a nice girl, but not anymore, so I can pay the rest myself. It's honestly insane.